Excellent. So welcome everyone to this webinar. When I set this up and I told people you can watch this from the warmth and comfort of their home, I didn't think it would be this appropriate on a cold day like today. I'm excited to be here. A little nervous. This is the first time I actually do a webinar, so I hope everything is okay. I hope you guys can hear me. And well, that's about it. Let's get going. All right. First, and I also need to mention, because I feel appropriate, I couldn't be in a better setting where I'm actually sitting at my table in my house with my wife looking at me, smiling. She's all happy and proud of me. And, you know, she's probably the main reason why I decided to actually do this. Okay. Now let me talk a little bit about me. Some of you know me, some of you do not know me. So my name is George Gianu. Yes, I am a chiropractor. I've been a chiropractor for over 12 years. And I've helped, thousands of people be present, be more healthy, enjoy life, etc. To be more to the point of the workshop tonight is I've been with my wife since 2001. We've been married since 2005, and we've been and we are ecstatically happy together. And I can tell you that every day that goes by, we are happier and happier. So yes, those types of relationships. And I have great relationships not just with my wife, but I have a little brother and sister. I say little, but at the age we are, they're not little anymore. I have a great relationship with my parents. So I've been able to create and sustain great relationships all around me. And I'm really happy about that. It hasn't always been easy. I know what it's like to feel alone and empty. I was the eldest of the family. I had the responsibilities on my shoulder, the burden of that. My father's Greek. My mother's French-Canadian. So throughout all my years of school, I developed a saying, when you're half and half, you're never the right half for anyone. That's actually a belief that I developed for myself, which we'll talk about later. I was terrified of relationships. Even just talking to a girl would make me pee in my pants, literally. I've had a long-distance relationship for many years, which was very difficult, but it made me really work hard on myself. Helped me really discover who I was and what I actually wanted. And since the age of about 17 or 18, I've devoted a big chunk of my life to being the man I needed to be in order to be ready to have that amazing relationship that I always wanted to have. So, this is for you if situations or circumstances are making life and relationships difficult to enjoy. If the way you've always been approaching relationships is no longer working. You find it's difficult, it's tough, like to be grateful, to be happy, to be loving when you're constantly under pressure. Or you just find it's difficult to find your own path. So this is what we are going to cover together. This is what you're going to learn. What limiting beliefs are and how it's miserable. And it's not just for relationships, it's for everything. How these limiting beliefs control your life by keeping you in fear and block off your capacity to feel the emotions you want. We'll see how you can actually install new empowering beliefs. And at the end of the talk, I'm going to show you how you can take this further to create lasting change. So for those of you who are interested in taking this another step, I will have a special offer for you. I'm just letting you know from now, so get ready. So what is a belief? First question. Yeah. The way I see what a belief is, the preconceived idea that you have that's usually acquired unconsciously, and you're absolutely convinced it is real. It determines the way you act and react in specific circumstances, in all circumstances. And, we have beliefs in all aspects of life, including relationships. I love this picture because there was once a time where we all believed, and we were 100% convinced that it was true. Later on, we discovered it was not the case. The beliefs are not real. Now, where do the beliefs come from? They come from society, from the movies we watch, from the family, My mom thought this, my dad thought that. Our friends, from a young age, the peer groups, the groups that we hang out with, determine in large part how we think and the beliefs that we have. When we compare ourselves to Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, or the illusion of, it kind of distorts our vision of relationships. Now, a lot of the beliefs that we have also come from our own interpretation of things and how they've happened. It starts really early. When we're really young, we're young, we're vibrant, we're full of energy, barriers, no constraints whatsoever, and we're just happy and alive. And, as we get older, stuff happens. We get screamed at. We see situations or get into situations where, we react and we're hurt. We're either hurt or we really cannot understand what's going on. So what happens to us? We develop protective mechanisms. If mom or dad scream at you really loud, well, what happens? We're in fear. So our bodies contract, we get really, really tense, and we want to hide. Now, these protective mechanisms are natural fear responses that are okay in order to protect us. Now, this is the subject of a whole other presentation all in itself, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. But just letting you know that when something happens, we react. And we shut down, and we do this early on. And we learn from these things. When I did this, this is what happened. Therefore, I really have to be careful. It's not okay. Or if I want to be loved, if I want to be accepted, I need to be able to do this, this, and this. And mostly, the traumatic effect of discipline is, it is not safe for us to be who we really are. We have to pretend, or we have to act in a certain way. There's certain emotions that are okay, other emotions that are not okay. And we grow up in all of these, all these different decisions that we've made through the years. So we form stories and rules. What's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad. So we have all these beliefs. If I do every single thing the other person wants me to do all the time, I'll be loved. Or if they look at me and they wink, it means X, Y, or Z. I'll be abandoned if I left too much. So we have all these stories that we have. And we all have them, by the way, including me. I'm not pretending that I'm perfect, far from it. And we look for evidence. See, I put a Greek and Canadian flag. Because through my school years, when I was in Greek school, I was the only non-Greek, so I wasn't part of the gang. When I was in French school, I was one of the only non-totally French, so I wasn't part of the gang either. So, I developed the belief that I don't belong. But the beliefs that we have require support. So we filter things. We all wear glasses. And the color of the glasses is according to, the only reason I'm laughing is I'm moving my hands, and my wife laughs at that. Since nobody's looking at me, there's no point in moving my hand. Okay. So I would be in situations where I'd be in a group of people. My perception is, now you know what? I don't belong here. They don't want me here. They don't like me. When it had absolutely nothing to do with reality. So do you think that might have an impact on relationships too? Yeah, absolutely. And it also changes our memories and souvenirs. So we filter. We choose what we like to remember about the past, and we forget about the things that don't match the story that we have. Are there times in my life where I totally belonged and was accepted? For sure. Are those the first ones that pop into my mind? Nope, absolutely not. So there's tons of different beliefs that either we've acquired from society or that we developed ourselves. Whether it's the way we're supposed to look, if I don't look like Monica Bellucci or Angelina Jolie, then I'm not going to be lovable. And if I don't make X amount of money, then I won't be able to be in a relationship. Or it's my role to make the money, or, there's tons and tons of different crazy stories that we have all over the place. And I often hear people talk to me about, well, lucky for you, because, you had good parents and you had a good, upbringing and you had a loving, so we have this impression that things, we need to grow up, or people need to be in a specific set of circumstances in order to have those perfect relationships. Well, let me break that bubble for you right away. My wife, for example, her natural parents died at the age of 6 years old, hit by a drunk driver. Her adoptive parents, her workaholic adoptive father left the family when she was 14. So, and when we met, her career was supremely important. Nothing else mattered. She'd be working 80 hours a week, and, you're not going to be first, and that's it. If you're not happy, take off. And, we managed to make it work. I can imagine there's a ton of other people with similar circumstances who would actually use these things as an excuse to justify why things are not working for them. Well, she didn't do that, and I'm very grateful for that. So basically, when you have all these tons of unconscious beliefs, they control you. Okay? We're like a flock of sheep just doing things automatically without thinking, with no critical thought or judgment, just because that's what we heard or that's what we learned or that's what we think we're supposed to be doing. So most of us live in that way. How many people have I seen in my office? Prototypical, around 38 years old, woman, 2, 3, 4 kids, all of a sudden, complete breakdown. Antidepressants, tries to suicide, divorce. Why? Because all of a sudden, for whatever reason, she just woke up and realized, whose life am I living here? I've been living like a sheep according to everybody else's beliefs and thoughts. I don't even know what the hell I want. And you guys probably know someone that's in that situation, that's been in a situation like that. So we don't even know we have these glasses on. We don't even know we have these beliefs. Okay? And all this is, from a young age when we decided there's certain things that are not safe for us to feel, well, we disconnect from them. So there's emotions, there's thoughts, there's certain things that we like, nope, I cannot go there, I cannot feel this, it is not okay. So how do we feel when we're challenged or when things don't go according to our rules? I look at myself in the mirror, I'm convinced I need to look like Angelina Jolie, and that's not at all what I look like. How do I feel? Or, the man that comes home and got fired from his job or isn't making the money he's supposed to, how does he feel when reality does not match his beliefs? That same protective mechanism. Isn't that interesting? So the same way we react when we're 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, as adults, we react the same. We still have that fear response that comes upon us. Okay. Now, this affects different elements of our body. Now, there's a reason I'm mentioning these because I'm going to talk about it a little bit later. If you're stressed out, if you're depressed, do you hold yourself? Do you have the same posture as if you were happy? No. You breathe the same way? No, you don't. You move the same way? Okay. Nope. How's your energy level? When we say you feel down, what does down mean? Like our energy levels are down. And what do we focus on? And we focus on everything that's not working, and we forget about all the good stuff. Okay? We're all guilty of this at certain times and certain moments. Our body becomes tense. A lot of times, this is a little parenthesis I'm making, when we have pain in our bodies, this is often where it comes from. Yeah? There's a conflict, there's a tension, our body's tense, our muscles tense up, ouch, and it hurts. That, too, is the subject of a whole other workshop. If I want to be able to cover this in about an hour, I won't get too much into it. Now, very important, when you feel down, when you feel stressed, anxious, when you feel worried, you cannot simultaneously feel happy, grateful, and loving. You can't feel both because they're opposite emotions. I hope that makes sense. But there's people that, their entire lives have felt anger, frustration, resentment. But it's tough. It's tough to see it in ourselves. But notice one thing. How do you know you do it? Because it's usually pretty easy to see it on other people. And I'm sure you've done this. You look at a couple, whether it's people that you know or not, you look at them interact and you're like, wow, this guy is so XYZ. Or she is so XYZ. So when we're looking at it from an outside perspective, it's easier. But when we look at ourselves, it's very difficult. That's why, that's for so many years as sheep, if we can call it, it's so difficult for us to break out of that and really take a look at what's going on in us. But seeing it in other people, much easier. Now, do you think you have beliefs that are actually keeping you from having that ultimate relationship that you desire? Okay? The cool thing is you can change your beliefs. First, you need to know what you want. Now, one of the best exercises, I'm going to share this with you, one of the best exercises I've ever done, and this is an exercise I got from Tony Robbins. And remember, I was sitting on my balcony, summer, evening, I had my laptop on, and I said, you know what, I am going to write down the exact description of the woman of my dreams and the one I want to spend the rest of my life with. Wow. It probably took me, I wrote a single line. Why? Because the first thing is, okay, is this really what I want? Or is this what my parents want for me? Is this what society wants for me? Is this what I learned? So it's not easy to create the space to actually be able to write your own stuff. But at the end of the night, I probably spent like 4 or 5 hours there. I had, how many pages? I think I had about 10 pages of detailed description of the person that I wanted to be with. For those of you who are not in a couple, this is something I definitely invite you to do at home. I'm not going to call it homework because I've always hated homework. Let's call it home play because play is fun and I like to have fun. And always question everything. Question your beliefs. I believe this. Why? I believe that. Why? Do you really believe this? Okay. So one of the pieces of homework I can give you that can make a huge difference. Now, you can write down all your new beliefs and everything, but, there's a saying that says just knowing something does not make a difference. Even in G.I. Joe, I just remembered this. At the end of every show, they would explain something and say, now you know, and knowing is half the battle. Why half? Because even if you know something intellectually, there's certain things that are going to make an instant impact, instant difference. There's other things, even if you know, it just doesn't change anything. And I personally, that was part of my quest where, for a lot of things, I did seminars, I did, chiropractic care, I did all sorts of different things, and it created a lot of breakthroughs in many different areas. But sometimes I was like, wow, no matter what I do, I just can't seem to break through, make that change. Why is it so difficult? Because sometimes we feel like we're stuck in a box. We have this comfort zone, and it's difficult to get out of it. Why? We discussed it a little bit before. What happens when you or your beliefs get confronted? We react. I'm going to come back to that because that's really important. There's a physical and emotional reaction in your body that happens. It isn't just a mental thing. Now, this is what I've learned. Check this out. Your body and emotions support the beliefs you've always had. What does that mean? That means if you've been feeling a certain way for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and all of a sudden you decide, you know what, this doesn't work anymore. Your body that's been in the state of defense for doesn't necessarily agree or want to follow. But to sustain a change in your thoughts, there needs to be a new emotional and physical range. So, are you saying you actually need to change something in your physical being and your emotional being in order to make these beliefs change? Yep, that's exactly what I'm saying. So you cannot create or sustain abiding love if your body is locked in tension and defensive patterns. That's why it's tough. So if your body is locked in defense, what does that do? If you have a certain posture, a certain position that's always there, it predisposes you to having certain emotions. So your dominant thoughts and emotions are what actually shape the quality of your life. Now, if I come back to this person, what do you think her inner beliefs are about herself? Do you think she has high self-esteem? Do you think she feels she's worthy of a good relationship? Probably not. And simply repeating it, she could be saying, I'm happy, healthy, wealthy, and successful. She could repeat it 1,000,000 times. Is that going to make any difference for her? No, it's not going to make a difference. So what we need to do is we need to help her change different elements. There's 5 ingredients to create and sustain passion or a different emotion. Now, here we go. We're going to pass these points one by one. Focus. Now, we all know certain people that always focus on the good thing. They're almost irritating. Sometimes you wish, could you just get annoyed or share my frustration? They're always going to see the positive. And there's other people that are always going to see the negative in every situation. Now, this is definitely something that we can consciously choose to change and practice. Simple exercise. You get up in the morning and you think, what are 10 things that I'm grateful for? Every single morning you can do that. First few days you might not come up with anything. Or it might take a while. Or you might say, there's nothing I'm grateful for. Hey, keep looking. There's always something. The way we hold our body needs to change. Just the old man on the right compared to the old man on the left. Who of these two do you think has a greater capacity to feel positive, good emotions? Obviously, it's the one on the left, right? And you can tell. You look at people walking down the street, you can tell what kind of emotional state they're in. When somebody's depressed, you can tell, right? Ladies, you see a man walk in, all stooped over, head hanging, not very sexy, is it? And guys, you see a woman walk in, her shoulders up, chest closed, also not very cool. Why? Because we just know we look at someone and we can interpret how they feel just by how they stand. The way we breathe. Breath, in every spiritual practice, breath is always an essential part. Some people might think, breath is not important. I believe it is. If you don't think so, stop breathing for a minute and then tell me. Okay? Breath is one of the key elements to bring awareness to our body. When we're nervous, how do we breathe? Short, shallow breath, right? When we want to relax, when we want to center ourselves, what do? We take deep, smooth breath to help us get more centered. But the way we breathe plays a huge role in what type of emotion we feel. The energy in our body. So energy in Western culture is kind of an abstract concept that sometimes doesn't mean very much to people. But I like to see energy as when you sit next to someone, and this is perfect even for dates or with guy meets girl, girl meets guy, and you have this instant connection with them. You just feel there's energy is like the vibe. That vibe. This person has such a great vibe. Oh, that's what it is. Or the opposite. You sit with someone and instantly you're like, oh no, wow, I so don't want to be here. It's the interaction between our energies that play a role. Okay? We feel up. When we're happy, our energy goes up. I feel down, I feel depressed, our energy goes down. So the quality of the energy that we have plays a big role. Now, movement. Why do we keep saying exercise is important? Because when you move, you help the energy circulate, and you help your emotional zone expand. When you're stressed, when you don't feel good, sometimes just going for a walk or going for a run or going to exercise, we always feel better afterwards. Yeah, don't you agree? And during the holidays, one of the reasons why we feel like crap, one of the reasons is oftentimes we just don't exercise. We don't do anything for 2 weeks. Eating doesn't count as exercise. Why are people that are in great shape, that are physically fit, more attractive than people that are not? Because of their posture's better, their breath is better, their energy is usually better, they have a better capacity to move. Now, your range of motion equals your range of emotion. When we were young, and there's certain emotions, certain things we decided it was not safe for us to feel, but we had to lock our body a certain way in order to prevent us from feeling these things. Look, a simple way to look at it. We all know people who have very limited range of motion in their necks. They can't turn their necks. Oftentimes, they're not only stiff in their bodies, they're also stiff in their heads. They have a very limited range of emotion. People that have no range of motion, oftentimes are going to be angry, frustrated, and that's about it. There's like nothing else. So the more range of motion you have, the better you're going to be. Actually, you know what? To experience great joy, passion, love, you have to be able to handle a wide emotional range. If you're with your spouse or with your girlfriend and the only things you can feel are frustration or anger, and you go back and forth between the two, not very cool. Or if, you're sitting and your wife or girlfriend is speaking to you and it takes you like 10 seconds before you can't take it anymore and you just bolt or explode or change the subject and you start a fight, not very useful too. Okay. It was a big obstacle for me to feel, wow, I don't belong, I don't deserve, to have a spouse or to have a good spouse. I don't measure up. See that? I don't measure up. That belief follows me everywhere. Even just to prepare this presentation, I was super tense and stressed out. Wait a minute, I'm talking in a webinar. I'm not going to die. Nobody's going to shoot me. But when we're in that state of defense, it's not logical anymore. And that happens to everyone. But I worked hard. I did a lot of great things. I worked hard on myself, and I was able eventually to develop great relationships. Great relationships with my parents. Now, the only reason my mom's not on this picture, I just didn't have one handy, but this is my dad. Okay. Great relationships with friends. Great relationships with siblings. And you know what? You reach a point in life where you actually feel like you do belong. And circumstances often play in your favor when you change your posture, you change your movement, you change your energy, you change your breath. You're able. I clearly remember. This is a great example. I remember I'm in Portugal. If we're soccer fans, I'm in Portugal. I'm sitting in the stadium, and I remember being able to have that space and time to say, okay, you know what? Remember this moment. Remember how this feels. Okay? Print this in your memory. Keep this as something you will never forget. So those little moments of awareness that make you able to appreciate the little things. Because, by the way, in relationships, the little things that will make all the difference. Guys, quick lesson. If you think it's the big things that make a difference for women, no, it's not. But that's a whole other subject too, so I'm not going to get into that. All this, I was able to have the relationship of my dream. In 1998, I took a picture in Greece of a sunset, and I told myself at that very moment, I will get engaged in this exact spot. 8 years later, I got engaged exactly there. Why? Because I set that. You know what? I believe that I can make this happen. And just because I actually believed it, and I set it I set it out there, it worked. Okay. So the challenge is how can I reconnect? How can I actually help my body and help my emotional state support these new beliefs that I have? Reconnecting to our body is super important. If you're constantly in that defense and your posture, breath, emotion, movement, and focus do not support those new beliefs, it'll be really, really, really tough. Now, how do we do that? Now, I would love to be able to tell you that I can discuss completely and fully and totally in an hour and 45 minutes, but unfortunately that's not the case. It took me a good part of 20 years to get to the point where I am now. What I have been able to do, though, is I've started a specific process that I call the AWARE process. There are 5 steps to this process. Step 1 is assess where you are. 2 is wanting to change. 3 is alter the rules. Step 4 is reinvent yourself. Step 5 is expand your vision. Now, what we mostly talked about tonight is altering the rules, which is where the beliefs are. And you notice that's step 3. So steps 1 and 2 need to be worked on first. The step 1 is working about really for you to know how am I breathing? How do I move? What do I focus on? How's my posture? You need to be able to be aware. You need to have a starting point that you're able to self-assess and be aware, be present in your body before you can do anything else. Actually, I have the description of these slides a little bit later. Yeah, that'll be more fun. We'll do it like that. Now, very important point. Okay. Having a great relationship that I have with my wife is something that took a lot of work. Like the first, I wasn't sure if I was going to say it, but I will. On our second date, I actually had from that big 10-page document I wrote about the description of the woman of my dreams, there were certain things that were really important to me. I was able to clarify, say, okay, this is what I in the woman of my dream. So we sat down, I remember it was at Rockaberry on Saint Denis, and I just started asking a whole bunch of questions. Do you want to get married? Do you want to have kids? How important is spirituality to you, et cetera, et cetera. A whole bunch of different questions. And I just drilled her with it. Now, we were doing a double date. Now, her friend was completely freaked out that she couldn't believe I had the nerve to ask these questions and yada, yada, yada. But, what my wife told her is, I want to tell him straight up what I say by heart. And if he doesn't like it, well, just too bad. But when you're very clear about what you want, okay, when you know what your beliefs are, okay, when you're clear about what it is that you don't want, it becomes a lot more simple to develop and start a relationship. And it's a work in progress, ladies and gentlemen. During our Christmas holidays, we sat down together at a little cafe, had a little cappuccino, and we sat down and we discussed what are our objectives for 2014. Physically, how do we want to improve our physical state? You know, family. How do we want to spend more quality time with our family? How can we make a difference in our family? Spiritually, how do we want to improve our spiritual life? And socially, we want to spend time with friends. And, most important, is our actual couple's life. What do we want to do to have more special moments together? So it is a constant work in progress. Okay? Relationships can only go two ways. They can only get better, or I don't believe there's such a thing as a stagnant relationship. For me, a stagnant relationship is a relationship going downhill. Okay? So, what's the point of the 5 calls? What I have, this is it, is I'm actually going to have another 5 calls for those of you who are interested. Because doing this in 1 call, not enough. So the point of this is igniting the passion in your life, creating the ultimate relationship, because ultimately what you want is to have every day feel like you're on your honeymoon. And that is how my wife and I feel. Some of you may not believe it, but remember, it's just a belief, because I can tell you that it's true. So, call number 1, assessing where you are. So I'll explain why your body needs to be exactly the way it is right now, and show you how it has been supporting the energy of your life as it is now. You will understand what stops you from having the relationship of your dream. So you'll learn how to get present in your body and connect deeply with yourself. You'll learn the power of your focus, energy, movement, and breath, and how they combine to create your mood. And the 3 A's that drop tension and stress. You didn't really think I was going to tell you what the 3 A's are. Nope, that's a surprise. Call number 2, wanting to change. So I'll explain how your suppressed feelings and emotions are running your life and your relationship. When we can acknowledge and accept these emotions, we talked about them at the beginning, when we're young, with certain emotions we learn are not okay, we create space for what we want. So we'll cover how avoidance of a feeling has created a convoluted story and lifetime of suffering. That's those sunglasses that we were talking about. How to acknowledge the true feeling and move through it in minutes rather than running from it from and how being present with a feeling clears the space to replace it with the emotions you want to feel. There needs to be some kind of a burning desire to actually want to have a great relationship or to want to improve your relationship. If there's no passion, if there's no drive, if there's no emotion involved, or if the emotions are just fear, anxiety, frustration, and resentment, then there's no point. There's no point in moving forward. Once we increase that range of emotion, then we can go more deeply into what we actually talked about today, altering the rules. So we look at how we live our lives according to rules and guidelines that do not come from us. This not only affects the way we deal with relationships, it affects every aspect of our lives. So we will cover how society's standards about relationships make ours miserable, how to unchain yourself from the rules of life, how to distinguish what you want from what they want. I should have put they with a capital T. That's everybody else but you. Now, once you're able to do that, it's time to reinvent yourself. So I'll explain how the best way to live your life is to really be you. Wow. You mean I can actually be myself? Yeah. By opening your heart to love and gratitude, you live your life on your terms. And you attract what you desire. I know a lot of people are fans of the law of attraction. Well, part of it kind of going to get talked about in there. So how living your life will make you not just happier, it'll make you healthier too. After all, I am a chiropractor. I have to talk about health a little bit. The winning formula for life. Okay? And you're excited and you're exciting when you set your own rules of the game. Wow, so I can actually own rules for my own game. Yep, absolutely you can. And call number 5 is about expanding your vision. So we'll discuss this. This is one of the most important elements for me. We'll discuss how you can attain a true sense of purpose in your life through love and relationship. Okay? Setting the space for a great and profound relationship is an essential step. You'll learn how the energy of your heart is so much more powerful than that of just your brain and your mind. How a relationship can be key to understanding the meaning of life, and how a relationship can be a catalyst to your spiritual growth. I want to finish with this picture, because I find it's a very appropriate picture. Because this is us on vacation. We were there a year and a half ago. Now, during this trip, we got asked multiple times by people. First of all, they would come up to us and congratulate us. Congratulations on your honeymoon. Yeah, we're not on our honeymoon. Well, what do you mean? You're not on your honeymoon? How long have you been together? Well, we've been together for 10, 11, 12 years. Their jaw was just dropped. They couldn't believe that two people on vacation could be able to have so much fun and be so loving with each other after being together for so long. Somebody actually came to us, sat down with us, said, I'd like to talk to you for a little bit, if that's okay with you. Well, what about? Like, I really want to know what your secret is. It is, because I want to learn. And right there is when I decided, you know what? If it's so obvious to others, because remember, it's always obvious to other people. When it's about you, you don't necessarily notice it. So, if it's so obvious to others, you know what? I should do something about this, and I should share this knowledge. So this was my very first webinar. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, please don't be shy to give me feedback. It is my first one, so send me an email, send me text, what you liked, what you didn't like. And for those of you who want to take it to the next step and move forward, you know what? You are more than welcome to. So thank you for being here, and we will speak again soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
you.